Slovák? Jméno.
Alfred Wetzler.
Shalom, ihr Juden. Gleich zu Beginn, vergesst eure Namen. Zahlen sind exakt. Willkommen in Auschwitz. Halt!
Häftling 1122440. 3012 ľudí denne.
Te materiały musicie przekazać ważnym osobom.
Už nemôžeme ďalej čakať. Jo, zítra idem na to. Všetko je pripravené.
Herr Lagerführer, Baracke 9 fehlt ein Häftling.
Keď vidíte smrť miliónov, môžete odvrátiť zrak alebo riskovať, aby to videl celý svet.
Ak to chcete dostať na stôl niekoho dôležitého, presvedčiť musíte Warrena.
We know the burden. We carried it with us all the way here. But the important thing is, what are you going to do about it?
The film is about these two men, right? And they were actually, real men who in 1944, they managed to escape Auschwitz-Birkenau, the camp. Mm-hmm. And then they actually walked home back to Slovakia to write and compile this report that for the first time talked about what actually was going on in the camps. So it's basically the story of their escape. The film starts pretty much with them trying to hide and then escape, and then it's basically about them trying to get home and trying to persuade people to believe them, because of course it was a very strange time then, and not really a lot of people believed them. So the story is pretty much that. That's a good question, actually. Well, I read the book countless times. I mean, that was really my blueprint into that world, because when I prepared for the part, I always tend to go for the experience, but of course I don't have that experience. So that was the toughest part, and so the book was really like my Bible. I mean, with this film, and what is different, I think. Well, it's different every time, probably, right? When you take a book and then you make it into a film, because film is a very different media, right? And it's a cinematic journey, and you have the sound, and you have the actors, and the art direction, and the camera, and everything. So I think it's it follows very closely what the book is trying to tell, but it's communicating, I think Peter, our director, he really, stripped away words, and it's much more sometimes silent with the characters, but it's much more, on the senses, like with the cinematography and the sound and the performances. So I think it's a completely different journey in a way, of course, because the story is the same, but it's a completely different thing, and I think he made a really good job. Before the shoot, when I started to prepare, I remember I had something like 6 to 7 months, so I had the time. It wasn't really that fast, but well, I started to lose weight because I knew I will have to do that. And well, I lost around 18 kilograms. Yeah, 18. Yeah, probably. I was really, really nervous about this film because, just like what I said before, that, you know, that I like to draw from my experience, but of course with a subject like this, you don't have that experience. So it's a completely different thing. And so, of course, the physical aspect of the preparation, it wasn't easy, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't really nice to go through all of that, because I was on a strict diet, and I basically I worked out every day for 8 months, you know, and so it wasn't a pleasure to do that, but it was doable, you know. It was like, okay, you set this, you know, you make your diet program and everything, and then you can do it. It was much harder with sort of finding the character and that experience of that person that I was about to play within me, you know, with everything I got. So, and the physical aspect, I mean, yeah, it was a tough shoot. I mean, it was a tough shoot for everyone involved, not just for the actors or for the extras, but also for the whole crew, because we really shot, you know, in extreme cold weather and all of that. But and even though when I look back, and you know, sometimes on a film shoot you think like, oh, this day will not be that hard. That did not apply on this film. I mean, like every single day was hard, and it doesn't matter if I was just, you know, standing in the camp, or I was running through the woods, or I was lying down in cold water, or I was, you know, at one point I was hanging on a rope by my neck, and it was raining all over me. So there was so much things that I will never forget that experience. But it was really, I mean, physically and emotionally, it was really hard. Yeah. I don't really think there is a way to deal with that, right? I mean, how do you deal with that? Even though I did not go through that, because, you know, I live now, and I don't have that experience. I mean, just to think of it and to deal with it, you know, with the information about it for so long, because, you know, I sort of, I really read every book I could find, not just Wetzler's book, which the film is, you know, based on, but anything I could find, any documentary. I even met a 96-year-old lady who was in Auschwitz. She's 98 now. And I talked to her, you know, but nothing will give you the sense of what it probably was like, because no piece of information, no documentary, nothing will really give you a sense what it must have been like for these people, you know. On set every day, I had a notebook that I kept, and I wrote different things in the notebook each and every day as we shot. And that sort of turned out to be my therapy in a way, because I sometimes the texts that I wrote in the journal, where sometimes it was just like a diary entry from my perspective, like what I feel on that day. And sometimes I wrote like really strange, fucked up things. Like I'm in like poems from the perspective of Freddie, my character, right? Just like short poems, like trying to imagine what it must have been like, because, you know, I was there on the set, and we had these barracks, you know, from Auschwitz really built on the set. And so it was so creepy. I mean, to walk just through the set and be there in those uniforms, you know, those things. And so that was my way of dealing with it. I mean, on a personal level, but I mean, as a person, just looking back on the history, realizing what are we able to do to each other? I mean, the human race, you know, I mean, and it's not just the thing of the past. I mean, there are still places in this world where it is just completely, I mean, unbelievable, you know. So yeah, so by the end of the shoot, when we finished, I just remember I was sort of craving that end, because it went on for such a long time, because, you know, with the preparation, and then we shot for 6 months, and with the preparation it was over a year since I started to engage with the project, and by the end of that time I just felt like I'm so drained. I was so drained, and I don't mean this in a like an actory way, like, oh, poor me. No, not at all. But I was so, you know, just so drained that I really, for the next 2 months after we wrapped, I just felt like I needed therapy, because I was so angry all the time, and all of those things just started to, you know, just flush out of me. So yeah, it was a really strange time, but I made it. We all made it, because it was just a film. So I couldn't, you know, compare the reality, and it was just a film, but it was really, really a tough time. I was really lucky afterwards, because I've done like one really dark film after the Auschwitz Report called Into the Dust, which is, you know, in which I play this drug cook. You know, I cook drugs in the film, but it was a really great part. And then I made another film in which I played something lighter, and right now I wrapped a comedy. Actually, it was my first comedy, so I was really looking forward to it, because it was a completely different you know, environment to be, and so I was really nervous also that I will mess it up, because I never had to be like funny in a way in a movie. So I was looking forward to that, and it was great. I mean, we managed to shoot the whole film in March during this time, you know, and so that was great. And yeah, and right now I'm doing a show here in Slovakia. So yeah, I have work, and I'm so grateful for that, because, you know, in this sort of you know, the art world, nothing is for sure ever. So I'm just really happy that I get to work and I get to play, you know, good characters.